Yes, folks, it's 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm PHred. I'm here with my co-host, the woman who won't die, Barbara Wainwright of Wainwright Global, Power of Now, and bookshops all around the world. Barbara, how are we doing today?
Fantastic, Fred. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to this topic. I think it's going to be very interesting. How about you?
I love the topic. It's one of those things of love music forever. Have been creating some AI music, so I understand what's doable there, and I think it's going to really. It's changing how the industry's done. But then again, it's a natural outgrowth of it, of the whole synthesizer.
Right? Yep. I remember when synthesizers first came on the scene. It was so interesting and such unusual sounds and things that they could program. And interesting times.
So what's new in the Power of Now land? Or Barbara land?
Let's see. Yeah, not much new in the Power of Now. We, released, I think, our 260th episode of that. And we're just keep on trucking on that for sure. But it's been 5 years now we've been doing that, so it's all good. So I'm publishing a book for one of my coaches. Her name is Dr. Susan Thompson, and she has written a book called Parenting: The Rules. And then she went ahead to list 20 different rules. She's categorized them as always do these things and never do those things. And it's a really good book, but it's very controversial because it goes against a lot of things that have been said on raising children to date. So it's due to be released within the next few weeks.
20 rules?
Parenting: The Rules. Yeah.
Oh, so all right. So it's not rules you give your kids.
No.
Okay.
It's rules for the parents to properly. The basic message, Fred, is children feel safe when they're loved and respected and cared for. And when they feel safe, then they can grow and do amazing things. And so the basic message is, love and respect your baby.
Okay, so that sounds like there's one there. But I was like, okay, if you got to give your kids 20 different rules, I know of no teenager that can handle processing. I mean, I had one, the driveway rule.
I think you got to share that, Fred.
Okay, if you ever watch the news, there's especially on local news, there's always some idiot standing at the end of his driveway with a phalanx of video news cameras and microphones shoved in his face saying, "Sir, or ma'am, didn't you know your teenager was out run amok, doing these things?" And they're going, "No, I didn't know that." And they look like an idiot. And then it goes viral and they look like an idiot internationally. So my rule to my stepdaughter and my daughter was, you will not do anything. When you're thinking about, is this a good idea? You think if this is going to has the potential for putting dad at the end of a driveway, you will not do it.
And I love how that same rule has transferred over to this radio show. In fact, the radio platform, in that we're not allowed to do anything. What's put Fred into the driveway?
Exactly. So what's funny is my daughter calls me up 2 years ago, and she goes, "Dad, I'm sorry for the times I wandered off on you." And I went, what happened? And she goes, the two kids and I were out doing yard work, and your grandson wandered off. And she couldn't find him, and she's running around. She looked in the house and looked outside, and she's running around, grabbing my granddaughter by the arm, and she's running through the front yard. And she goes, and all of a sudden I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be at the end of a driveway in yoga pants and pink slippers.
Oh gosh.
So that was pretty much one of the few rules, other than actually one of our other guest panelists' rules that he gave me, which is what I always call the continent rule. See, so the continent rule.
Okay.
You have to treat yourself like a continent. And
Okay.
they're going to people who come and land on this continent. They're going to look around and say, yeah, I don't like this. They're not going to do any exploring. They're just going to leave. And you're going to tell them to frack off, although I did not use those terms raising my daughter. And he goes, you're going to tell them frack off. And they're going to say, this is kind of interesting. And they're going to hang around and explore, and they're going to see who you are. Saved my life, actually. One of the things saved my life. And so I always tried to impart that of, if somebody doesn't like you, that's their problem. They go away. You're going to find those who do like you and go, I'm going to hang around longer. Sometimes they keep coming and being your show host. See, that's the...
We don't want to mention any names, though, right?
No, we won't mention any names. So those are our two rules of parenting for me, is impart those values on your kids. Third one being, somebody hits you, you ask them to stop. Go tell a teacher. They still hit you, then you put them down.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so shall we move on to introducing some of our recurring guests and new guests?
Yes, I think that would be wonderful. Should we start with the new guests or the recurring guests?
Ladies' choice. You're the only.
All right, let's start
Deanna
with Mick,
Chicken
the
today.
Doctor of Digital Podcast.
Yeah, I don't know how new I am because I'm not that young, but okay. I'm new here anyway. So yeah, the Doctor of Digital. So I'm the Doctor of Digital podcast. So I'm an exclusive book coach, and I also got a couple books out, Burning America and also On Track, Ian Hunter. I have a very profound interest in music, co-host Music 101, and a number of other podcasts as well too. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and it's a fascinating topic. I love music, been around it for a long time. People ask me, what do you play? And I say, the radio. So not a person who can play anything, but I can certainly think about it and listen to it.
All right, that's awesome. I get the play the radio thing. I actually used to be in a band, so I played keyboards and sang with a band for, a long time, a lot of years. All right, thank you very much, Mick, for introducing yourself. Hey, Ken, would you like to introduce yourself next?
I would love to. My name is Ken Miller. I'm up in Bellingham, Washington, and I have a profound love for music. I think no one can guess what my first 8-track was. Oh, 8-track. Did I say the word 8-track? First 8-track was Nazareth, Hair of the Dog. That dates me, 1975 A&M Records. And I love AI also, and I'm just glad to be here. Thanks.
Oh, so welcome, Ken. We're really delighted to have you. All right, Wilton.
Dog, Hair of the Dog. That's an awesome... Oh, sorry.
Okay, I am, accidental wise man, I guess Fred would call me. But I also have a love of music. I was also in bands for a number of years until the day someone stole my drum set.
Oh.
Broad daylight, and no one saw anything. And this thing was so shiny it practically glowed in the dark. But unfortunately, that was something that I couldn't recover from.
Yeah.
However, my love of music also dates back. The first album that I ever purchased, Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Oh, wow.
And I actually played it to the point of where my family and I had to come to a truce, where I was allowed to play it once a day. Now, the 2-album set. So it's not like they were off the hook in 40 minutes. No, it was like an hour and a half. They had to sit through it. But yeah. So I have always had a love of music and vast different genres of, and I'm really looking forward to this discussion.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. And now we get to introduce Nathan. So glad to have you here.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Nathan Jewett. I have a small startup called Digital, and do a lot with digital marketing, kind of a database nerd. Went to MIT for AI. Very much a programming nerd my whole life, but also am a sympathetic drummer. I feel like my heart is weeping for the loss of your drum set. Bought my first album when I was 4. It was Kiss Rock and Roll Over, because the cover of these painted face rock and roll stars, just like I was entranced. And we used to like make pretend instruments like guitars with rubber bands, and we would do New Year's Eve, make drum sets on laundry baskets and things like that. And my uncle gave my brother a drum set, and I would like steal time on that drum set, and eventually became a pretty decent drummer and played in a lot of progressive rock and hard rock and metal bands growing up, and now play guitar, keys, and drums, and had my little couple radio moments and lots of touring, and that's why I'm in tech now. So that's how well that went. But yeah, just love music and love AI and the potential of it all, and yet how do we preserve the human element? What are the appropriate ways to use AI? Where are the guardrails needed? And how can AI be sort of like Google Maps is, like it's an enabling technology that helps us find our way better, but maybe it doesn't replace some of the real intrinsic excellent qualities that humans bring to the table. So I think there's a balance in being sort of pro-tech, but also responsibly and also being intuitive. And the humans can bring things to the table that AI cannot bring to the table. So I find this an enjoyable time and not being extreme anything. So that's kind of my interesting perspective on this.
We'll get deeper in there. Don't worry about it. Keep going, Barbara. Let's get the
Well, here's something I just noticed, Fred, that we have several musicians who are also IT geeks. So it's like we went from music to IT. I did that too. Wilton did that, and Nathan did it. It's like, what? That's interesting.
You're saying there was like intelligent design of this episode?
Well, maybe, huh? Or maybe it was just God's will. Who knows? Deanna.
Hit our other. Before you bring Deanna in, you hit our other musician.
Oh, the other musician, Greg Markelz. Hey, Greg, are you an IT guru as well?
No.
I'm going to disappoint you on that, but I have something for Ken. Ready, Ken? I know it isn't true. I know it isn't true. Love is just a lie. It's made to make you blue. Love hurts. Ooh, love hurts. There you go. There's your Nazareth. So,
see,
I had to do that.
This is why we call this show Down the Rabbit Hole, because it ain't normal, folks. And I prefer it that way.
Fred, I got a couple things I have to mention too, just for you. You have a rabbit hole. I was on with one of your buddies yesterday, and he put me down a Wolverine hole. Just so, for comparison's sake, we have something that's more dangerous than a rabbit hole.
Yeah, but who wants to go hang out with Wolverines? That just seems painful.
Well, yes, painful, but if you're trying to make progress, sometimes you have to jump into a dangerous place, correct?
Well, that would be the Monty Python and Holy Grail rabbit.
Yeah.
The Vorpal bunny hole. So
I think we need a movie, Rabbit versus Wolverine. Okay. So I'm the host of Animals Unplugged Radio on PHred. That's how I know Fred, among other things. And my angle on the discussion today is going to be as a guitarist, vocalist, singer, songwriter, music producer, trying to save animals with stories and songs. I have a lot of opinions about AI in music. I have got a great width and depth and I've got a lot of stories from other musicians for you.
So first album you bought?
I'm almost embarrassed to say. I know what my first two were, and I usually say the other one, but I know it was this one. Because it was so cutesy, a little kidsy. My first album was the first Jackson 5 album. Michael was like, I don't know, 2 years old. I'm exaggerating. He was like 2 years old, singing lead, A, B, C, you know. And the other album I bought like the day after was Tommy James and the Shondells, Crimson and Clover. And I commonly say that one first because, I don't know, Michael Jackson was like a little baby. I don't want to tell people that was my first, but that was my first album.
Excellent. Barbara, what was your first album?
Oh my gosh. My parents actually bought the album. It was the Beatles.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a Christmas gift. That was my Christmas present one year. It was an album from the Beatles.
Well, that was not the first one that was given to you, but the first one you bought.
Oh, wow. You know, this is terrible. I don't remember buying an album. Isn't that something? I remember I had a single, and I think it was I don't remember the name of it right now, but it was about somebody who died in a car accident. And it was a sad story.
No wonder you went computer geek. All right, bring our last guest down on so we can move this topic along.
Yes. All right. Deanna Brakefield, welcome.
So earlier you said that it may have been by intelligent design. I think this may have been purely by accident because I don't think Fred knows my full background. I was a sought-after high school musician, moved into going to be I was going to be a music teacher when I graduated from college. So I was doing the whole symphonic and orchestra band and choir thing, completely different side for most of the gentlemen that are here, until I burnt out in only a way a neurodivergent person can and dropped music completely for 5 years until I became a church pianist. So I've seen a bunch of different stuff, but it's all in classical music. And I heard some of you guys are really doing really exciting stuff in like the actual music industry, and I love that.
Oh my gosh. I'm wondering how many of us musicians have participated in a church music. Yep, there we go. Oh my. There
Quite a few names.
Yep.
And the first album you bought?
I actually bought two, and it was Backstreet Boys' Backstreet's Back and Cher's Believe album. And I bought them together. So I think I just dated myself a little bit.
Oh, I love this. Did we get everyone's first album they bought?
I didn't share mine.
Bring it.
Well, I have to go back to singles also. The first song that I actually remembered was Hit the Road Jack. And then singles were Happy Jack by The Who and also Light My Fire by The Doors. But then when some new things came out, like 8-tracks, I did start buying albums. And so it's either got to be the Hallelujah album by Canned Heat or the first Creedence Clearwater Revival album.
Excellent. Ken, you want to say
so the first album I bought, and I was a 12 or 13-year-old, and some of y'all will remember this, was K-Tel.
Yes.
Oh, Disco Party, I think it was the name of it. Had to Rock the Boat on there, Hughes Corporation, Gwen McRae, Rock Me Baby. That was the first album I bought as a 12-year-old. I was given Nazareth Hair of the Dog 8-track by John MacArthur across the street.
Oh, I remember the first album I ever got given from my folks was a K-Tel album. Was it Morning After and by Maureen McGovern and a couple others. That was the first one. But the first one I bought was A Night at the Opera by Queen. Still a Bohemian Rhapsody fan. So fair, just case in point, my daughter at about age 8 asked me never to sing in public. So out of everyone on here, I'm the musically challenged one.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so we've kind of established everyone's musical roots. I want to break this down. So Greg, I'm going to ask you to start this because I know of some of your journeys in what I'm going to call the music industry most recently. So for an artist, what's it like starting out in the music industry? Your experiences.
It depends on what you mean by starting out.
Going into, so I know you've gone into, you leased, rented, whatever, stuck somebody up, blackmailed them to get something like that, to get into a music studio and record things with studio musicians. I know because you're the one who came up with the head-thumping Pillars of Franchising song, which once you hear, you never forget, even if you want to.
Yeah. I guess depending on your perspective, if you're going to try to make a career out of it, what I have to say doesn't apply because this was always my secondary, thirdary thing. Saving animals with music isn't the same as being just a musical artist trying to make a living. So, but having said that, starting out, my biggest recommendation is go to open mic nights and meet every artist and local musician you can and talk to them about what you want to do, and you'll find some that you jive with, that you enjoy their music, and they know things you don't, and then they can help you. It's free, it's low key, it's fun, and so like that's my best.
But all right, so I don't doubt that's really good advice, but you're really not dealing with the industry structure per se of getting your records produced and sent out to radio or concerts or TV or whatever else we're using to beam stuff out to.
Well, nowadays you can do that all yourself. Mm-hmm. You can self-record, self-produce. There's courses on how to do that. You can buy any kind of equipment you need from. I'm in a little studio here that's got everything I need, and so hiring a professional producer gets you a better result. But you don't have to do that. You can learn it all yourself, and you can release it yourself on all the streaming platforms cheaply. It literally costs nothing, but to be listened to, actually listened to, that costs a lot more time and money.
You know, I just got to share. Back in the 80s, we recorded in a garage, and we got our single pressed into a single 45 RPM not a CD, but a hard copy single. And then we also recorded on cassette tape, and we had a little, I think it was a little recorder that had four channels that you could record through. So we had microphones all over the room. And then we took that recording up to K-Rock, who is a Los Angeles radio station, and our song got played on K-Rock. That was that was how we did it back in the day. Before live streaming, before the internet.
And now, so in other words, in the disconnected days, which we all remember because, well, Nathan's the youngest one. Well, no, maybe Deanna is. I don't know. It's a toss-up there. But we all remember the disconnected days. So I guess I'm trying to establish a baseline of what the industry was like back when we were growing up, let alone going back to classical music, although Deanna could probably talk a bit about that, to now you've got this, I can go into Udo, Suno, a couple of other ones, and I have, and create music I like just like that. So when I look at that huge change, if I can create all the music I like, why do I ever need to go and listen to somebody else?
That's a great question. You would only go and listen to somebody else if you happen to like their music too.
I don't like to be in a silo of my own music. I like to expose myself to different genres or different artists because it's sort of like the lonely world to play for yourself and write all your own things, but I think it's part of how we learn. It's part of how I grew up to listen. I remember when Michael Jackson was on, I think it was ABC or something, with the Billie Jean performance, and that was transformational for the world, I think, because there were so few options and channels, and it was big impact, right? So listening to other people, I think, shapes us, right? So I really enjoy that. And if I could write all my own things, and I mean, I do write my own things, but that's me, and I'm kind of bored. That would be a boring existence for me. I like to listen to other people's things and get cultured and to learn different people's perspectives and all that.
I don't disagree with you. For me, one of those moments was Freddie Mercury on stage at Live Aid.
Oh wow.
And I don't disagree with you, but when I look at the ability that it's not, I can give it 4 words and give it any genre, and it can spit stuff out at me, multiple stuff. Who wants to jump in on this? Mick?
Well, I think you got to go back and see how music is done. It's still the crucial point that I think Nathan had brought up, and it comes back to, what is AI? Does AI a human product, or is AI artificial? Is it an extension of what we've done before? Somebody mentioned a synthesizer, but how was music created? Music was always created in community. So if I go way back when, let's say when we have Gregorian chant, it came out of a certain context, it came out of people. And classical music then was clearly had something to do with a community and a group of people. So we got a long story short, as we've gotten more and closer to our own day and age, it's moved away from that. And it's also moved away from some sort of foundation or some sort of community. So by the time you start talking about, let's say there's gospel music, Thomas Dorsey, then you get into more contemporary forms with Sam Cooke. All of that still, to me, reads like a community. When you get through Motown, again, these are all songs that were group of people, human beings gathering together. When it starts to unravel, in my opinion, I love the Beatles, but it starts to go, well, this is a little more individualistic, and then you still get hints of a community, Grandmaster Flash perhaps talking about certain things, certain issues, but it seemed more and more individualistic and more isolated. So to me, that's also the limitation of AI. It's completely artificial. What community is it a part of? Is it a part of anything? What's the foundation there?
Deanna?
I also wanted to throw in that this is not a dissimilar conversation than the one we were having 20 years ago as we began truly digitizing music, that something was lost between those traditional recording styles and digital. It's almost like as we're transitioning into this AI generated music, we're losing another layer of something human.
I remember those conversations, Deanna, going from the playing it on the record player with a needle and going through the speakers and then going to digital. It was a big conversation then. I remember that transition. Yeah. And now we're transitioning again to AI. And there's just, I've heard AI produced songs, and there's just something that's inauthentic is a word I'll say. Inauthentic about it. That's it.
Ken, you want to jump in here? You look like you got something to say.
I always got something to say.
Good, bring it. That's what makes it interesting, my friend.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about music, and music is obviously in the eye of the beholder. And if you're an individual that likes AI music because you don't know better, and I hate to use that term, don't know better, then that's cool. If it gives you a feeling, and that feeling is of joy, euphoria, sexy, anger, whatever it may be. I listened to some heavy metal, and I was a big heavy metal fan. because I want to be angry. Okay, I'm cool. Let's listen to some Slayer and get angry. Okay, that is a mode, and I can use AI that's heavy metal, Slayer, Sepultura, or whoever I want to listen to, and it's done by AI, and I can still get angry. Okay, I can still get that mood, but there is a loss. I think there's a loss. In my age, music was different, and that there was a lot of physical aspects to music. And what I mean by that, you had to pull the album out, you had to clean the album, you had to put it on the record player. For me, it was a Techniques with a Shure ME795HE cartridge. Put it down on the song you wanted. If you weren't, there was only so many Dark Side of the Moons that you could listen to the whole side. But usually it was one or two songs that you liked, and you'd listen to that song, took the album off, cleaned the next one, and put it on. There was that physical, and like you couldn't wait to put the needle down, to be able to have that physical connection with the album. You looked at the album cover. I could just go on. So I think there's a loss there. But let me say this. With streaming is the greatest thing for me that ever happened with music, because I had an opportunity to be exposed. I didn't have all those albums from the 70s. I didn't have them. And I have probably somewhere maybe 10, 15,000 songs I have in my Spotify that I like. There were songs I didn't hear for 30 years. I had a chance to go back and listen to Love Changes by Mother's Finest. Most of you guys don't know who that group is, but it was a song I loved in 1975. I didn't listen to it for 30 some years because I couldn't find it. Now I went online and I could find it in 5 seconds, and I can get that feeling that came up. So I'll, pipe back in whenever you ask me. But again, that physical aspect of music is gone. And if people enjoy AI music, it's just that most of the time we can, those who have been listening to music for 30, 40, 50 years can tell that this is junk. And that's our opinion. That's our opinion. Most of the music that's coming out that's popular is junk. That's my opinion. But it doesn't mean that a 15-year-old girl in Peoria, Illinois, or wherever can like it. God bless her. Mm-hmm. Like it, enjoy it. And so that's somewhat of my feelings, and we can go more into the digitalization of music and AI itself.
All right. So, and everyone said things I agree with, and I look at it of no one's touching on the most memorable concert, or the first concert they went to, or the last concert they went to. And where I look at this is we're all old. We're all pre-internet, pre-connected. We're the last of the Homo sapiens, because now we're going to become Homo digitalis.
Okay.
I see this now that New York State put in a rule saying kids can't have cell phones in school. My daughter keeps the grandkids 1 hour a day on the screens because she says it's like crack. And yet I know there's a whole lot of parents out there, for whatever reason, sticking their kids in front of screens. So they're always connected. They're not going to have what Ken said of that detector of the difference.
Right. Can I just jump back to album covers? Because, oh my gosh, what a huge disappointment CD covers were, right? Album covers were the bomb. And sometimes they'd stick a sleeve inside so you could pull out the lyrics and stuff. I mean, albums were amazing. And then the whole artistry part of the musical art, I mean, there's musical art, but the artistry of the album cover and the inserts that they put in, all of that went away. And
Do you remember how they smelled, Barbara? Do you remember how albums smelled, like the smell of the ink and the paper and all that? I remember that.
Yes. Well, I just loved the art on the album covers. And when it went to a CD and it was so tiny, it got lost. All that artistry got lost. So, and then, I mean, there's still the little icons now. You get a little icon with music now.
If I can add something to this,
Yes.
what I find the biggest difference to be is that older folks were actually physically engaged with the music they listened to. One, you didn't just sit at home with your phone or your PC and do a search for whoever it is you wanted to listen to and listen to them. Granted, it was good. You could hear the artist or whatever. No, you had to get up. You got to get dressed. You got to get a little money. You got to walk to the record store. And then you're going to spend time. I can remember blowing afternoons in Tower Records, just going from floor to floor and looking at albums and, maybe I should get this one. And then I'd like make a stack of like 10 albums. And I look at my wallet, it's like, okay, I don't have 10 albums in my wallet right now. So then I got to triage my choices and, make sure that I pick the right ones. And then I could go home and I could look at the record and look at the thing in the center. I used to love Zeppelin albums because of the Swan Song thing in the center. But there isn't that physical connection where you actually had to put effort into your choices. So, I mean, I look at, okay, a perfect example. I'm going to see The Who tomorrow. I don't necessarily see very many artists from now being able to carry their artistry through decades, because part of my enjoyment of The Who is all of that stuff that went with being a Who fan. You go places and you hear about them, you buy an album, people are talking about that album and no, man, Keith Moon, The Who's just not the same anymore, blah, blah, blah. All of that's kind of gone. And I'm thinking that once we started to introduce technology into that and like different things that they had to tweak with it. I mean, I remember as a drummer hating the idea of a drum machine, if for no other reason than because it was perfect. There were no imperfections. It hit every beat exactly where and when it was supposed to. And after a while, people began to notice, wow, that sounds mechanical. So they actually programmed imperfection into a drum machine so that they would occasionally be a little ahead of the beat, maybe a little behind the beat, so that it could sound a little bit more like a human. And that worked for a while. Fortunately, drummers came back to the fore. It was like, no. This is what it's supposed to sound like, this. But with AI, I'm thinking that from an artist's perspective, not all artists, but I am afraid that a lot of artists are simply not going to be necessary anymore because someone sitting at their desk is going to be able to craft an AI song that's just going to take over the world for 15 minutes. Instead of the artist that could have done the same thing, but they're not going to get the same exposure because, quite frankly, record companies do not want to pay the artist. They don't want to pay all of those publicists. They don't want to do all that. But if they can put someone behind the desk to come up for something, put it on Spotify, and bang, they've got their millions of listens, why do anything else?
So part of where I just went and what you said is AI is going to weed out what we'd call the one-hit wonders.
More than that.
But at a base level, and it's going to wipe out the one-hit wonders because, those are the folks that went out there and in a simpler era, what was Kung Fu Fighting? Yeah, I remember that, 7th grade.
Paul Douglas.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, you're good.
I am good when it comes to music like that.
All right. So what was your favorite one? Wilton, what was one of your favorite one-hit wonders? And Ken, you?
Okay, actually, my favorite one-hit wonder is a band that made a one-hit wonder in the 70s. Ooh, child, things are going to get easier. They reformed as a disco band and had another one-hit wonder all night thing. I love those guys because that's almost like my favorite football team. Sorry, Minnesota Vikings being able to go to the Super Bowl 4 times and lose all 4 times. But these guys had a one-hit wonder that was huge, and then nothing. And then suddenly they reformed and they had another one-hit wonder. It's like, wow, you guys, I don't know. I don't know how you managed it, but good on you.
Chemistry. So Ken, your one-hit wonder.
I got so many of them. I'll just go To Hell with Poverty by Gang of Four.
Ooh, I remember that one.
1981.
Nathan?
Gosh, I liked Betty Davis Eyes way
Oh,
back in
Kim
the day.
Carnes.
Kim Carnes. I liked some of that. Those early, it was late 70s, and I would go with my older brother and sister to the roller skating rink, and that would be an experience, another example of physical experience with music, right? And you would hear stuff that, I was younger, so I wouldn't know, or they would have something on the radio or on some late night Dick Clark show, right? That's how I got exposed to things as I was the baby of the family. And so I got to be exposed by going to the roller rink and hearing Kim Carnes, and I was just like infatuated, right? Too young to be that infatuated with Kim Carnes, I think, because her voice, right?
Amen to that. Mick?
Ain't Got Nothing Yet, the Blues Magoos. But
Okay.
of course, everybody's favorite one-hit wonder has got to be Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum.
Oh, yeah. He died recently. Within the last couple of years, I seem to remember. All right. Greg, favorite one-hit wonder?
Because I have to oppose everything. I have a favorite one-hit non-wonder. That means I have a band I loved many, many, many of their songs, other hits they had, but then they had this one hit, and they got all these new fans, and I couldn't even get into the concert. The line that the cars was backed up on Route 59 up to Poplar Creek, and we got in there after the first set was already done because of one stupid song, and to me it's their worst song. The band is Dire Straits, and the song is Money for Nothing.
Chicks for Free.
And that Money for Nothing song is my one-hit non-wonder because I hate what it did to the way people look at that band. Because if you look at everything they did before that album and other songs on that album, they're great. They're just fantastic. Great rock and roll, great guitar work. Yet that one song defines them for millions of people.
All right.
And it's
May I ask a question about that, though?
Go for it.
Because I remember that song too, and I remember being kind of a Dire Straits fan, but the thing that propelled that song, I think, didn't have anything to do with regular airplay. That was an MTV thing.
So was Kim Carnes. Kim Carnes.
MTV.
Well, you remember the song? That song was there. It was about MTV.
Right.
It was about an artist getting their song on MTV. Was what the lyrics were about.
Right.
Money for Nothing.
But I'm saying that pushed that song perhaps a lot further than it would have otherwise gone. I mean, one of my favorite 80s bands, A Flock of Seagulls. Come on, if it wasn't for MTV, even I have to admit that. If it wasn't for MTV, those guys would have gone nowhere. I mean, I went to see them in concert, and that was the only concert that I've ever been to where the lead band actually had to do repeats because they didn't have enough material to actually do an entire set. They did a couple of songs twice, and because they had to fill out the time. So
That's crazy.
So I mean, I still love them. I but even I have to admit, MTV did that to you.
MTV was a game changer for the music industry because now you not only had to be a musician, you had to get on camera and have a story
presence.
behind, present, you know, it had to be visual as well as audio. It was like a totally different shift, and it was MTV that did that.
Ken, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so when I think of that whole thing, the MTV, I was there from the beginning, literally because the first song was Bangles. I'll never forget that. Video killed the radio star. That was the first video they played. So I know somewhat of the history of MTV, and that was my formative college years. And I always remember there was one song that was a one hit. You can do modern English. That was another one that they had their one little hit. But the song that I always remember, I'm like, this song is crap, but the video made it was Aha. I remember that it was a cartoon where it was some race car.
Take on me.
Take on me. It was sucked, and I said, I mean, this song sucked, but it got huge because of MTV. Then you have great bands that were not very maybe photogenic. You know, you could say something like maybe a Judas Priest or what's the band? Motorhead. Lemmy is one of the ugliest men of all time. And so he was not photogenic as the lead for Motorhead. Anybody who's a heavy metal knows what I'm talking about. Old Lemmy. But they couldn't blow up. So instead we'll give it to, someone else from that era. Pour a little sugar on me or whatever that thing was. But anyway, a lot of that is visual. And I'd love if we ever go to the part about going to concerts and because AI can't produce a concert. There's no band.
That's right.
So we're going to
wait, before you say that, do you remember the artist Psy? I think he's Korean. He had that song Big Gangnam Style or something like that.
I remember the song, and there's a lot of videos with that song playing.
But he had a follow-up to that. The name of the song is Gentleman. Now, listening to the song, he's got a video for it and all of that. That's kind of one thing. But I saw the main video for the song, which was actually him doing this song live. And the one thing that I noticed about it was that him being there, he was just a prop. All he was doing was mouthing, lip singing to this song, and he had lots and lots of dancers behind him, and there were visuals. And when I think of AI, it's like I can very easily see a human just being a prop or something that was generated by AI, and they just happen to be the face that they put in front of that AI song.
So I'm not gonna, before you get all that, we're still in the MTV age, because to me we've talked about the albums we bought, and Ken, I think it was mentioned about concerts, but I want, would the group, Nathan referenced Ugly Dude, now not getting played. Now I'm going to reference Culture Club.
Okay.
Would Culture Club and Boy George ever become the international one album, whatever you want, group? And even he would tell you he's only ever remembered for I don't know, whatever the big one was, Karma Chameleon. Would that have ever hit without MTV? Nathan?
Internationally, no.
Go ahead, Deanna.
It's been a local phenomenon.
Right. So in other words, that MTV was that first step, because when you look at MTV, who referenced Dire Straits? Greg did. Because a lot of that was CGI. And more in the videos started using oddball. It was more about the graphics than it was the artist. And when I take this now forward into what you started to go into, Wilton, with the AI, is that I already see a whole lot of video out there, AI video, where they're taking likenesses of themselves and programming that video.
Okay, wait. I guess the group, if you can call them that, which most clearly illustrates what I'm talking about, is Milli Vanilli. Seriously. They were props.
Yeah.
They had nothing to do really with the music behind them. You know, they lip sync and, you know, girl, you think it's true and all of that. So I see that becoming more the norm, if you will. And okay, the reason that I brought up Psy was because the concert that they showed with him just lip syncing, he packed an arena. And it was obvious that that's all he was doing. And yet he was able to bring tens of thousands of people in there to jump up and down and sing and yell and holler and enjoy themselves. So it's like, okay, I see that. And I was like, well, that is a logical progression. So,
Deanna?
Wilton, a little side thing to that, Wilton, before we move on from Psy. Do you know that in Korea and maybe other Asian countries, they have schools where kids go and learn that specific type of dancing? Whatever you call it, I don't know what it's called, but whatever you call it, there's thousands and thousands of kids learning how to be a dancer behind Psy, basically.
And that was what Motown brought. So Deanna put her hand down. We'll come back to her, but Ken, you got your hand up.
I believe Deanna was before me, though. Please, Dan.
Deanna, you want to open your mouth?
Well, I was going to say, as Wilton was talking, I know it's not a direct correlation, but I suddenly got this mental image from one of my favorite old action movies, Demolition Man, of Sandra Bullock driving a self-driving car singing Armour hot dogs commercials, that if AI takes over, music is going to be like 30, 45-second snippets that get stuck in people's head, and that's it.
I would argue that happens now, but go ahead, Ken.
You know, one of the fundamental questions that as a group I'd hope we could maybe touch upon, what is real in music? What is real in music? Because most music, unless it's a live album, is not real. They didn't play together as a band. You lay down your drum track, they come in, they do the vocals, the bass comes in and works with the rhythm. The lead guitars, I've been in studios. You cut like 10 different solos. You know, you have your rhythm, but you cut 10 different solos. And then on the mixing board, you put it all together. The band doesn't play together. And, you know, there's bands, you know, anybody knows the story of Boston knows that Tom Schott, he did that all himself. He had to go out and find a singer, you know, Delk, you know, so, you know, what is real? And, you know, so people are getting upset with the AI because it's not real. But a lot of the bands that you think, the whole disco music is not real. It's Giorgio Moroder in a studio with some hired speakers creating change. He just got lucky, or one of the guys got lucky and got Luther Vandross to create that band and sing on 2 of the songs. That's what created Luther, was change. So again, when people getting all upset with AI, I'm not saying everybody on this thing, but a lot of people are getting upset with AI music. But really, what is the reality of the music you think and loved and grew up with as a band? Because many bands also didn't go out on stage. Anybody know Steely Dan, which is one of my favorite bands of all time? They stopped touring after like their second album. They never toured. And they did, and Fagan and his partner did their thing in the studio. and brought in studio musicians, but they never played together.
Actually, I have to tell you, Ken, they must have started doing it way later because I actually saw them at Ravinia, the two of them before the guitarist died.
Yeah,
So
they came back. They stopped in the
came back,
70s.
so
Yeah, but they did stop
one
in
of
the
my
70s.
favorite concert experiences of all time was
Oh, they're
seeing them.
awesome. Awesome.
They performed the Asia album in order, and every damn note was exactly the same, and they performed it live. So is that real?
That's real. Well, it's as real as you were hearing it. If you were chemically altered, then who knows? Nathan, you wanted to say something.
I was going to say, so, I mean, this is all just awesome conversation. I'm just so happy to be here and happy to meet all you and everything. Music and video and production has always followed like the expression of what the latest greatest is, right? And now AI may not always replace the musicianship. It may completely be all of the artists, but also AI is embedded in the production workflows for both visual, for concert technology, and for audio production and audio composition. And so my company, one of our creative directors, Jeff, who's a wizard, by the way, with creative and with AI audio, it's an example where we don't have to pay artists, right? We just go boom, boom, prompt it out, and now we've got custom themed, multi-genre, commercial, licensable, usable music. And we wouldn't have been able to use that because we wouldn't have been able to afford that as a startup, right? And yet, I'm a drummer, guitar player, songwriter, feeling that same thing of like the organic nature of music. And I think of painters and photographers going through this same kind of progression. But if we think back, music, like we talked about the art of early MTV videos, and I want my MTV, and like, Brian Adams, or different kinds of pop artists that were Rod Stewart, people experimenting with visual art, that was because of the state of graphics of that time. And now AI is yet the latest incarnation of modern technology that is used live. I saw, who's the artist that does the R&B stuff? Gosh, no, I forget the name, but it was AI being used on a screen projecting really state-of-the-art imagery. And I was like, it was bringing AI into the live environment. And that place was like bumping. It was like a club. Everybody was just grooving and dancing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a live show with AI integrated. It was crazy. But so my point, I guess, is like, we're going to use AI because it's the new Pro Tools. It's the new digital guitar synthesizer. It's the new Boss ME10 foot pedal, right? It's the new voice harmonizer, Barbara, right? Like AI can help you have things that you couldn't otherwise have. And yet I go back, and when I write my cheesy love songs, they're totally unplugged, acoustic only, me in a room, no AI. Right? And then I wanted to just mention one other thing for the group to think about. What does it mean to express creativity? Like, maybe it's not or at least it seems it's evolving for me. I sit alone and create for me. And so the meaning economy becomes relevant, because there was a time where I created because I wanted to be the Iron Maiden band. Right? I wanted to have the live theatrics of Eddie and all the cool things. That was my first concert stuff, and there may have been LSD involved. Okay, there was, but it was amazing, and like, still think of it, and it was like bigger than life because it was chemically enhanced. So I'll give you that. But I went to like 4 of those tours in a row because of the live experience, and there was no AI then. And now I would almost say, what is the point of like, do we all want to have that as a career? Most of us are in tech if we want to pay our bills, right? So the music doesn't pay the same way. So all the financial models are changing. I could go on and on, Fred. But wow, is the role of all of it different? And what is the meaning? I write a song so that I can express me in that song and capture an emotion. AI can't do that, but somebody else may say, to your point, Ken, they can enjoy that, and that like my company can create something and do something it couldn't have otherwise. So I just feel like it's not this or that. It's like, it's a big buffet of all these options, and we get to decide why are we doing it and what is our intention with doing it.
So for our viewers, for our listeners, I'm holding up the guitar I bought a couple of years back. And while I can make music with AI, if I go and play this, you're all going to tell me that ain't music on the guitar. Just wanted to put that in. Mick, you've been quiet. Chime in.
Well, I think it has to do with the law of entropy. And what I mean by that is that if you look at creativity, let's start with something in a group like the Beatles, one of the most, arguably the most creative ever. They start to go into Magical Mystery Tour cartoon. They go into television. Then somebody else says, oh, well, we should kind of imitate them. So then you have the Monkees. And then the Monkees do what? They go on television. They go to a cartoon. Then after that, somebody says, oh, yeah, let's just kind of refine that. How about the Archies? How about bubblegum music? And I still say, yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy, because it's catchy. So I think what I'm trying to say is it depends on the origin, because I'm open to the argument that it is not as human when we start with AI, but the origin point has got to be somewhere the humans to begin with, and then we refine, and then we change over time and evolve and see how people use it. So I remember Frankenstein, where you have this song, it's a synthesizer, and I go, okay, that was pretty trippy, about a 9-minute song, but then it kind of gets old after a while too, because it's too long and it's too much. And then somebody else changes it and go into, my point is, I think it just evolves. So I think where AI is, it does the things, as Nathan pointed out, the things that we can't do things better. So it is analogous to all the artificial things I have. I have contacts on, I can't see, so I have contact. There's a car behind me, that gets me from point A to point B faster. So AI is like that. It can enhance us and it can enhance human ability, but I don't think it replaces whatever that human element is, and it won't ever. But I do think it's one of those very shiny objects, like the tool. You could say it's another tool. Let's see how it gets applied. Let's see where we can direct it to.
All right, before we go to Nathan, Barbara's been dying to jump in here.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I've been dying to jump in, but speaking of dying, and AI, this is totally out of left field, so forgive me for that. But I was on LinkedIn and somebody did a post where their teenage son committed suicide with the assistance of AI, because AI was going, oh, you did a great job tying that knot. Oh, you did. And it, just because AI is supposed to be encouraging, I guess it's programmed to encourage us to be good at things. And so anyway, she just posted it as a warning to parents of teenagers, be careful not to let your kids on AI if they're using it for that kind of thing. It's just, that was really heartbreaking. And I know that was out of left field, so I apologize for that.
All right, so you took us down that where so I don't want to go into computer ethics, because that's normally my normal rant. And if a computer had ethics, it wouldn't be allowed to do that. It would go and report somebody. But then again, how many humans don't have ethics? So,
very true.
I'm going to go back to Deanna. And Deanna, open your mouth. And then let's introduce our newest victim. Guest joining.
Well, okay, so I feel like I almost need to throw this back a little bit. What is music and what is its purpose? And at the core fundamentals, music is just vibrations in the air around us that is designed to elicit certain emotional responses. So we go back to like classical music, Mozart, Bach, Beethoven. Those guys didn't just perform on instruments. They crafted environments created to amplify the sounds that they were creating to make bigger, more dynamic emotional responses. To the extent that their music is still here 400 and 500 years later and used commonly. In modern day, we go to concerts and we feel the vibration of the bass moving through us, and we have a group experience where we are all feeling the same thing or near the same thing at the same time collectively. I feel like as we're moving into this AI, it's over personalized. It's okay, so I can drop a couple of words into an AI thing and have it make my music playlist for the day, and it's uber personalized, and I've never shared this experience with anyone else unless I share a link that they may or may not click on and listen to, and it removes that collective experience.
So what you're saying is that music is nothing more than the biochemical individual's response to trying to create order in the universe.
I mean, that's uber technical way of saying it, but yeah, kind of.
I mean, literally that, and what we're all objecting to is that, or what the primary objection to AI music is that it's one size fits all. There's no character, no authenticity, no...
It's mechanical.
It's mechanical. It's not
But I
creative.
think that's still subjective, Fred.
It is. No arguments, because we all have that different viewpoints of what it would be. But to Deanna's point, that group experience, you go and everybody is like-minded, that they want to see the group that they're in, and they're all listening in the same way, and there's that bass that and the music and the rhythm that moves through you. So that music is programming in a group way people to have Ken pulled it, that said it, that response, that emotional biochemical response.
Right. I can't imagine Woodstock ever happening with just AI.
I mean, even to a more micro scale, I remember it just barely. I'm just old enough to remember it, sitting in front of my dad's speakers and the feeling of a room of 4 or 5 people listening to an album together as the sound emits from 4 or 5 speakers sitting next to the record player. There's still that shared experience that when you plug your headphones in and you listen to your AI generated sound, is just gone.
Well, I can buy that. And there was a shared experience that when you'd crank that stereo album up and neighbors 4 houses down could hear it. Nowadays,
Oh my gosh, how many times do we all get turn that down from the other room, right?
no, it was turn that damn record down. Nathan, go ahead and
I was
Ken.
gonna say, like, here we are, several humans in a room, and I was in a miserable mood before joining this call. Miserable, okay? Facing some difficulties, not having a fun ER with my girlfriend yesterday.
Oh, damn, dude.
Enjoyed it because she's well, but not a fun day, right? And here I am this morning enjoying these other humans, all of you here, but I am having the subjective experience of joy and connectedness. Now, if you were all AIs, I could technically still be having that experience, right? But it's totally so what is music? Well, it's transformative, it's therapeutic, it's uplifting, maybe it's cathartic, and AI could give us all that, but it's up to us to make it mean what we want it to mean. Go ahead, Will.
Well, first Ken, because Ken, and then we'll come to Wilton. Go ahead, Ken. I knew you were next. Don't worry
Man,
about
I
it.
got it. And I got some thoughts on a few things, but I'm just going to talk to 1 or 2 of them. Number one, live performances are not going away. Now, as long as we're alive, they're not going away. In fact, digital music has done more for live performances for classic rock than anything. Because now we can go back and listen to, a band from the 70s, and all of a sudden Molly Hatchet is playing down the street. Hell, let me go to see Molly Hatchet. I haven't even thought about it. I had to come up with a wild band, But the idea, somebody just talked about a band that they're going. I was in a meeting just earlier today, and a guy had a shirt on for Slayer. I didn't even know Slayer was still playing. They got their last world tour, and he had the T-shirt. And I'm trying to think, man, maybe I can get to Seattle and go see Slayer in November. Okay, so anyway, the idea that music, and this is another thing people, I believe, may understand. You are only seeing like 1% or 2% of the bands that are out there that do national tours. That's it. People that make money on Spotify, there's only like 2% that the Beyoncés that make good money out of it. And most of them don't make hardly any money, if they make any money. So again, we're just seeing a small portion. But I want to just talk about one, go down. It's not a different rabbit hole, but I want to talk about Suno AI. And I don't know if anybody has dealt with Suno AI.
Mm-hmm.
Suno AI. So one of my mentees, I mentor men all over the country. One of my mentees said, "Hey, Ken, can you listen to my album?" I'm like, shit, I didn't know you played. And he sent me this album of his songs. And I'm like, when the hell did you start listening to country and western? Because he had a country and western, he had a techno, he had a rock and roll, and it's his voice and it's his themes about his company. And there was like 12 songs. I'm like, what the hell is this? I didn't know about Suno. You know, I've been working with 11 Labs and all that because I do stuff in AI. But anyway, what we're going to see is this, and I cannot wait. Some of you remember a thing called mashups. Does anybody raise their hand who remembers what a mashup is? Okay.
We got multiple people, folks.
Yeah. A mashup is usually a guy at a computer that takes multiple songs and puts them together and makes a larger song. And it was something that got really popular, in especially early 2000s. There was this one guy, I remember. Anyway, what I want to do, when I write, I have a custom GPT that uses James Baldwin as my voice, because I think he's the finest nonfiction writer or essayist. And that's the voice I use. What I would love to do is take some of the songs from the past, use AI, and say, instead of this lead singer, make Luther Vandross the lead singer, and then create that mashup for me, and then give it back to me. And it's just for me. I'm not going to put it out into the public realm. I would love that. I love Luther Vandross. I love Marvin Gaye.
You can do that now. You can.
I didn't know that. That's where I'm thinking it's good. If you can talk to me offline, I would love to play around.
I have videos where it took a photo of me and a voice sample of me talking just maybe 2-3 sentences, and I write in the text and goes text to speech, and it creates video and everything, and it uses my voice. And if it, to me, I could pick it apart, but for any of you that don't hear me every day, you'd be like, that's Nathan talking.
Well, I don't want my voice.
Perfect.
Believe me, nobody wants my voice.
But you could feed it a sample of Luther Vandross, and it will remix it or make a mashup of it. So that was my point. That's where I believe things are going, and I would love to see that. That's enough for me.
Dear God, I just heard there's going to be a PHred version of Thunderstruck by AC/DC, as well as all the other Back in Black. Highway to Hell, here I come. All right, we've had a new guest show up. Barbara, you want to bring our newest martyr victim
guest? Hi, is it Elee? Just want to make sure I said that right. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
So I met her before. I won't say where. So tell all of our listeners as well as our panelists about yourself, and then what's the first album you bought, and what's the first rock concert you went to?
Oh, wow. Sorry for being late, by the way.
No sweat.
So I speak on cultural intelligence, and I'm not sure if you are familiar with that term, but in case for those that aren't familiar, it's basically the ability to navigate and function across diverse cultures effectively. So I'm not necessarily a music expert or anything, but I do love music. I listen to different types of genres and also languages. I'm Asian, but I love Latin music. So the first concert, which types of concerts again were you asking, Fred? You said
any concert that you went to that was where they were playing live music.
Oh, live music. Oh my gosh. That was in my island hometown of Guam back in the 80s, and it was Menudo.
Ah, Menudo. Often confused in California with a type of meat. or in Kansas?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, we didn't get a lot of live performers come to the island because nobody knows what it was or what it is or where it's at. But that was a big deal for us. Like there's these guys from, I think, Puerto Rico, right? Is what I believe.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they're pretty big in Guam, which is a tiny island in the middle of nowhere. So they were my first concert. And
Awesome.
my rock, oh, I don't know if I've been to any, but I'm open to going, I guess.
All right, so I've been remiss. If you're listening and you've got questions for our panelists, you can call in at 1-724-957-4733. That's 1-724-957-KPHred or KFred, for those of you who misspell it. Our topic today is the music industry from classical to rock. How will AI change it? And I understand that we're in that whole group thing and the group experience. I will share that I used to love going to live concerts, but the last several I've been to, I fall asleep. Because
How did that happen, Fred? Tell us.
well, I get into the music, I close my eyes and just kind of let it flow through me, and usually the bass makes me drop off.
Interesting. Interesting.
The last concert I went to was a couple of years back was Don McLean, and he was doing American Pie. Now, the last song he did in the hour-long set was American Pie. That's why everybody went. And he did a couple of the songs at the beginning that had minor fame. And it was about the third song that I dropped off just in time to wake up for American Pie.
Oh my gosh. That is really unusual to be out in public and sleeping, especially at a rock concert. I don't know.
I've done it actually at a couple.
It's really
Yeah, you're so lively here on the radio, Fred, so you would never know that you would.
Like,
Is that a condition? Like, is it concert? There must be like something in the DSM-5 for that.
Could be. And yeah, American Pie is like 20 minutes long. And, you know, it was one of those first songs. I think I was 8 or 9, 10 maybe when it came out, and, you know, knew that 3 men I admire most, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Caught the last train for the coast, you know. So, and then there was that deeper meaning of all the events of the 60s. And I do agree. I find it difficult to believe that a computer system, computer software, I started out life as a programmer, and I know how stupid computers are. The only thing stupider are people. Exactly. AM 1970, Ken. I was 9. But if you've never had those visceral moments that is, my wife and I were sitting in a sandwich shop, and a song came on, and the song was "Rock Me Gently." Anybody remember that one? You remember? And I'm singing it, and my wife's looking at it. I said, "Andy Kim," and she went, "Andy Kim." I said, "Yeah, that's who did it." And I'm just singing. She's telling me, "Would you calm down? We're in the sandwich shop. You're looking like a psycho." And it was one of those things of, there was a girl that I remember that I had that puppy love thing going on. And so there's that very emotional, biological response that it brought out as a kid listening to it. And that's what music does, is it brings out that biological response, whether we're writing it or we're listening to it.
I mean, Fred, we've known for decades that when we've got people with things like Alzheimer's and dementia, and we play the music of their youth, it re-engages those parts of the brain that had memory, and they remember the moments where that music was important to them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good point, Deanna. I know that with my husband, he's always talking about songs that'll come up, and he always is relating that song to the moment he first heard it. So it's just, it always takes him back to when he first heard that song, what he was doing, where he was at, who he's with. I mean, it's like brings back so many memories for him when he hears a song. It's really amazing how many memories it brings back. So that's, really important.
Mick, you got something that you want to say, I can tell, and then we'll hit Wilton.
Well, I don't know if we want to talk about the first concerts, because that could certainly age a number of us, because you had mentioned that.
Bring it, dude.
So, all right, I'm going to go for it. So a buddy of mine had a car. I was only 15, but he was 16. He had a car, and I was living in Southern California, but we get a chance to go up to Hollywood, which always was very different because it was Hollyweird, of course, and not Hollywood.
Still is.
But that was September 14th, 1973, and I heard an English band called Mott the Hoople. Hopefully somebody remembers them. Their big hit, if anything, if you remember them, was All the Young Dudes. So this guy came out, commanded the presence, and was amazing. There was actually 4 bands on there, because that was the 70s. So there was a local band, there was Blue Oyster Cult, there was Joe Walsh and Barnstorm, and Mott the Hoople. And it was probably like a couple bucks. But in any case, lead singer was really impressive, saw the power of rock and roll and everything. So I've been following that guy ever since. Guys are still around, because I know there was a mention that some of the old bands are still there. He's only 86. He's 86 years young. But Ian Hunter does go out on the road occasionally. But that's the guy that I saw as a lead singer. I've been following him ever since. Wrote a book about him. And some of that stuff, I know what you're saying, Barbara, with your husband. Yeah, some of these songs, they come back and just instantly take you back, like Fred said. I remember where I was, what I was listening to, who was around, who my buddies were, and all those kinds of things. So it does bring back those memories, and it's good memories. The difference, I think, with AI, to get my AI point in here, is that, yes, it can have some type of impact on us chemically and emotionally, but I do think it makes a difference if that thing that's creating it doesn't know itself the kind of impact it's having. Human beings do. So however the process comes together, whether it's sort of artificial or not, it's still with intention, and it's still trying to reach people in a human-to-human sense.
Something interesting that you just said, Mick, is when you're remembering the song and relating it to a memory, you just said it was a good memory. And I think, I don't know, is everybody relating a song that they heard when they hear it? Are they remembering good things? I mean, do you ever remember having a bad experience with music?
Well, that's the girls that didn't go for you. So Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel, there was a girl named Celia. So yes, there are some bad memories too, but you kind of push those away, because I thought I was going to be cool. I got 2 vans in high school, and then thereafter when I was a young person. Didn't help any, but I thought the idea was to get the girl, get the van, get the music. Didn't really work out that way.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think for me, songs emote joy mostly. I don't really remember having any songs. Well, I guess you could, I don't know. There are sad songs out there that could put you into a melancholy state, but I don't tend to listen to those.
So, Wilton, you had your hand up, and then also answer the question of, do you have any songs you associate with bad things?
Okay. I'll actually answer that question first.
I figured you would.
Some years ago, this was actually during the time that I was at Triad, believe it or not. A really close friend of mine, one of my fraternity brothers, died suddenly. He had an aneurysm, and it just basically took him out. And I went. This happened in Jersey, and I drove out to Jersey to attend the services and everything. And while I was on my way there, I heard this song of a genre that I didn't even know existed, called country smooth jazz. I'd never known that there was such a thing, but I heard this song called The Confluence. If you have a chance to listen to it, it's strange because it's a very sad song, which was an extraordinarily sad time that I was going through when I heard it. But also, when I attended Steve's services, I saw fraternity brothers that I had not seen in decades, and these were my ride or die friends. And that song, it's weird. I mean, I hear it. The first thought I have is of Steve, and then everything that came from it. So, yeah, it's a memory of a bad time, but it also brings about memories of seeing all of those people that I got to see as well. So yeah, it still makes me sad to hear it, but it's a happy sadness, if there can be such a thing.
No, I understand where you're coming from, and that makes sense. You had something to say before I asked you that question, though.
Yes. There are a lot of things that I'm hearing, and I also think about AI music. But it reminds me of a lot of the conversations that I had with my friends over music over the decades. I mean, from the time I was in high school, and like we were talking about the value of Frank Zappa, and how an artist like that could never really be huge because of his genius was just too great, and so forth and so on. There has always been this tension between corporate music and singer-songwriter purist music. And I guess I'm hearing now the same thing that I've heard and experienced in the past was we were always a little worried that whatever this new commercial juggernaut thing that was being raised and how it was going to destroy our chances of hearing the pure stuff, the good stuff. And I guess for me, it's still a question that I'm kind of throwing out to the group. As strong and as powerful as AI could be, as far as music is concerned, are you concerned with it basically taking over and making it so we don't hear the good stuff anymore? Or
so I would bet that AI will never come up with "Watch out where the Huskies go, don't you eat that yellow snow." Or the other one that I flashed to of class, Sister Mary Elephant on Cheech and Chong. And I remember listening to that one in 5th grade, and it was so scandalous.
Yeah.
So I don't think AI is going to come up with anything like that. But Ken, your thoughts?
Right. You know, I get so much going through it. First of all, I did put that in "Don't You Eat That Yellow Snow" as soon as you said Zappa. You know, I just remember that one so well. I wanted to just touch upon live music and also music and negative. So, and I'll just put it out there. I am a 3-time convicted felon. I spent 20 years on the streets as a drug dealer and criminal. Okay, that's my truth. I have a book I wrote about it with my Ivy League education. There are music that I can put on today. There's a type of music we call hyphy, and it's Bay Area rap music, very specific to Northern California. And when I hear that, I literally slouch down in my seat, put my hand over my wheel, and I'm back in that world of the streets. Really? And being a thug. And it's a negative. And I minimize my exposure to that music. I minimize my exposure to some of the heavy metal. I used to listen to a lot of heavy metal. And I'm talking about like early Metallica, and I'm talking about Sepultura, and groups and some of the Nordic heavy metal that I used to listen to that puts me in an energy state. I want to destroy something. That's just where my brain goes. But I rarely do that. But what I do want to also say, my first concert that that resonated with me was The Clash. Still probably my favorite band of all time is The Clash out of Britain. But I have a moment, and literally a 15-second, 30-second moment at a live concert with Metallica, For Whom the Bells Toll, the bass line, anybody who knows that song, at the Kingdome, Seattle, Washington, 1992. I still remember that moment, and it just almost brings chills to me to remember that moment. That's what music does for me. And I stay more nowadays on the positive things, listening to Luther Vandross, A House Is Not a Home live, what I think is the finest, rendition of live singing I've ever heard. But so I have those moments. Anyway, and again, AI can't do that live. But I believe with the mashups, things we've talked about a little bit, I think I can produce, or music will be created with AI that I will enjoy. That's just, again, my opinion on that.
That remains to be seen yet, right?
You actually did make me think about the first concert I ever went. It was the Wilson Sisters' Heart. And man, I can still see Ann and Nancy. Yeah, never mind. I don't want to go there. But it was, on a teenage boy, Elee, you got something. Chime in, woman.
Thank you. Okay, so AI. I also am I started an AI agency just about 2 months ago. Now, I think AI, with the power, I think, Ken, you mentioned Suno. So AI is bringing the possibility of creativeness in anyone. That's where AI is at right now. But I still think that the beauty is in the in-person. So I mentioned that I speak on cultural intelligence. So music to me is when it's about people making a connection. The last concert I went to was about 2 months ago, and my granddaughter, who was 10, I was asked to accompany her to of all things, get ready for it, a K-pop concert. Don't laugh. SoFi Stadium. I don't know what the capacity is out there. When I was buying the tickets for this thing, I was like, I couldn't believe the prices of these concerts. Here is this boy band based in South Korea, right? I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with a bunch of teenies and tweens screaming, right? And all that. But I got in there and I was like blown away. That thing, I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to a K-pop concert, okay? So they sell these lights that are like $70-$80. Who knew? I was like, what? I'm not going to spend $80 on a light. Well, those lights are actually power activated to synchronize with the music. So you have like 20,000 lights all going off on the same beat of the music. And that was when I was like, wow, this has been going on for a while. I would have never known that. So that's where that whole connectedness still comes into play that I keep bringing up. You have people that are reacting to the music. It's that 3 to 4 hours of an actual hopefully a positive experience for the crowd. And it's just, you dress up and you can bring and you bring it up yourself, being this happy person and just finding something that you can sing to, you can dance to, and just be with others who are like-minded. And I think that's the beauty of the in-person events. it's not something that AI is going to separate. If anything, AI will act as more of a proponent for human connection, because people are going to be so tired of all this AI stuff. Everybody's sounding the same. Suddenly everybody's got like a PhD in anything and everything because they Googled it up, they AI'd it up. But yet the experience and the connectedness of people is what's going to be lacking. And that's where the power of the concerts or these in-person events, it doesn't even have to be a concert. So that's what we're going to want and need, is the human connection, because we are still human after all. When you strip away all that AI robot thing, and that's my opinion.
Man, you took me down a bunch of sub-rabbit holes, but you use the word culture, and when we talk about a concert, by definition, it's a cultural event. Whether there's 50 people listening to a Pink Floyd cover band in a bar, or 50,000 or 100,000 in Wembley Stadium, and everyone watching over the world. And I get that. And yet on this show, the person closest to me is 4 hours away. Barbara. Everyone else is, yeah, I think so. Anybody?
Bellingham, Washington is farther than that.
Uh-huh.
I'm in Southern California.
Yeah, Barbara's in Orange County. Did I get it right that time?
Yes, Orange County. And where are you, Elee?
Oh my goodness, Barbara, I am here in the border, LA and Orange County border.
Okay.
We can meet up.
See, if I say she's in LA, she yells at me and goes, "No, it's Orange County. Don't mix me up."
Right. There's a big difference.
Oh, there is a big difference. Yeah, don't ever. Yeah, you can do the other way, but don't do the other way. Wherein if they're from Orange County, they want to be known as Orange County.
Whereas longtime listeners know I'm like Californians. They're all
there
the
you
same.
go, right? We're all woo-woo in California. Oh, gosh.
Greg, you got something to say? You've been quietly singing in the upper right corner.
Well, the question that I last heard was bad experience. And this is interesting because I wasn't there, but just knowing that this happened bothered me deeply at the time. I was a teenager. But many of you will be familiar with the Altamont concert in California, the Rolling Stones.
Hell's Angels.
And there was a murder that happened while they were playing the song Sympathy for the Devil. And just knowing that happened just disturbed me. So I didn't have any live experiences that were any worse than that. So that for me was the worst. One thing I want to get in before, because we're getting close here to the 2-hour mark. Nobody has brought it up yet. Maybe nobody wants to talk about it. But the fact that all these miracle things we can do with AI music, does it bother anybody that that machine used copyrighted material that people owned to train itself to do that for you? And those artists are not getting paid for that? And the other thing related to it is, I was witness to a session that was one of my musicians groups. They brought in a guy that was a producer and he literally right in front of us created a song, and he chose the band Jamiroquai. Anybody familiar with Jamiroquai? Yes. He was going to do a Jamiroquai song, and he was going to pretend that it was an original Jamiroquai song, but a new song. And he literally, with voice prompts and tweaks right in front of us in about 15 minutes, he tweaked the lead vocalist's sound. He tweaked the beat. He tweaked this. He tweaked that. And then he had a brand new Jamiroquai song that he created. And then he said, we have a lot of bands that try to sound like some other band. Now, what if you wanted to be a Jamiroquai knockoff, but not a cover band, but somebody who kind of gloms onto their audience because they sound like them? And he says, so now what we did was that song, I guess there's some digital fingerprints on it when it's generated by AI. So they literally just went back to the studio and had their musicians recreate all the stems really quickly, but they put no time or effort into writing the song. The guy did that in 20 minutes electronically. They had a brand new song that sounded like Jamiroquai, but it had the band's signature because it was a real song created in a real studio with real instruments. Now that's an angle that's what I just laid out should make us all think a little bit.
All right. So I'll run through everyone. Before I do that, I'm going to ask you, how's that any different than taking ChatGPT and say, go through these dozen websites based on pick your topic and generate a blog post about that information? And that way it becomes out new as mine. I'm still pulling that copyrighted material out there. I'm repurposing it. I can get rid of the ChatGPT hidden symbols by copying it over into Windows Notepad, copying it back into my blog posts, and both the SEO engines and the geo engines won't necessarily pick it up, especially if I tweak it by changing some of the words. So how is doing any different? And things like that I've heard for the last couple of years, you can use AI to write books that way and blog posts and things like that. How's that any different from what you're talking about? That's it to you, Greg.
Well, this show is about music, and I'm a musician, so I only have that angle in my brain. But I'm sure you could apply the same idea to all this other content that they quote unquote stole.
Correct, because it's a collection of mankind's knowledge, so to speak. Wilton, go ahead.
No, if I'm not mistaken, earlier we talked about how bands aren't really bands, and how you'll get a bassist that'll lay down different like 10 different bass lines, and you'll get a rhythm guitarist that'll lay down a couple of tracks, and a drummer, and so forth and so on, and then the song gets constructed. Then on the back end, the band that this song is from actually now has to learn the song that they supposedly created so that they can do it live.
Right.
Well, what you're missing is, for those guys to lay down those tracks, each one of them has thousands of hours of training to get to that point to lay down those 10 tracks.
True.
Where AI, nothing, no effort.
I'm not. Please, I'm a musician. There is no way that I can forget all of the effort that it takes to get to the point where they can do that.
Right.
All I'm saying is current mindset, contemporary thinking. I don't know that these people are going to be able to see how different that first practice is from what I'm sure will become current practice. That's my only thing.
But I think this is partly about the meaning of why we are musicians. And there was a time when we would write music so that there could be a career, or there could be a large, broad broadcasting or publishing of that music in a way that would have a financial effect on our lives. And now those models are done. Mm-hmm. It's totally different now. And so that's why the meaning economy, we think about people having work. There may be a universal basic income in this country where people don't earn a living anymore because the AI or the robots will take away some of those jobs. So the meaning economy is a concept around why we work. So why we do music, that's why I mentioned it's sort of self-therapeutic or storytelling or to share your message. But there was a time when there was about a career. And that meaning is different now, I think.
Well, see, that's what I was trying to get to with the question. Will commercial, corporate-based, AI-based, whatever, eliminate the output of purists. That's what I'm, because as I said, that's a discussion that I've been having since I was a teenager.
I'll still be creating, but maybe no one will ever hear it. But I'll still be creating, and Will, I'm happy to share and listen to your creations. And maybe we have to build new networks, and maybe there's a broader economic conversation to have about building communities that large corporations don't control. Because I love to hear what my fellow humans are doing, and I would love to share mine with others and have like just the joy of sharing that. Because for my whole life, you had to be funded by some big debt-based record contract to get that limelight, and I've given up on that ego-driven pursuit. I would love it if one person could be touched and truly moved by a creation of mine. That to me is like an actualization of sorts, just one person, right?
And I guess for me, one of my favorite kinds of music to play is actually big band, because you've got this large collection of musicians, and you're playing and you're also listening to each other.
Yes.
And you can actually hear something, and like the group of you can just start to fly, and it doesn't really matter who else might be listening, because you're enjoying the fact that you're like riffing off the bassist, and all of a sudden the piano hits this riff, and it's like, oh, okay, let's go that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was always my reason for playing.
Yes, I love that.
And I mean, at the time, people would tell me, "Wow, Wilton, we really liked listening to you play," and I was kind of good, but making a business out of it was never. I never glommed onto that. I just wanted to find some other good musicians to play with. Mm-hmm. And we would go someplace, sit in a room, and just jam for a few hours, and then we're done, we're tired, go home and do something else the following day. But we had a wonderful time for that 2 hours.
I love that. And I think that is, when you're in that creative state, you're allowing, I'll say, universal God energy, whatever, to flow through you.
She's going Southern California.
Here goes the woo-woo. Okay, but that's it. You're allowing God's energy to flow through you in that creation and in that moment. And how high on life are you at that moment, right? You don't need any other sustenance or substance to propel you. You are being propelled by spirit coming through you, and you're just in the moment, so present. That is just the biggest joy ever. I don't know. People that are creative, artists are painting, they get that same kind of feeling. But when you're in a group of musicians all together, it's just, woo, magnificent. I don't know. It's rare to have those experiences, and they're the best. Yeah.
How do you say I live in California without saying those words? Southern California.
Hey, look, this happened to me when I was in Jersey, so it's not just the California thing.
Mick, you got something to say? Mick, you got something to say?
Well, I've been both in California and I grew up in New Jersey, so I'm not sure where I can fit in this whole discussion here. So I'm somewhere in between. So I'm more of a Jersey boy, even though I've been in California. So I'm not exactly the woo-woo type, because I go back to the way I was actually raised, which is very much a working class and blue collar Jersey kind of guy. But in any case, yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle here. So I'll just say I'm an American and let it go at that.
Fair enough. Ken, words from you. Words of wisdom.
I don't even know if they're wisdom.
You muted yourself.
I touched my microphone. I was listening to Greg and thinking about the ethics and the monetization of the auteur, of the individual that has that skill set, that has spent all these hours and years perfecting their craft, and can they make a living from it? Almost every great society has always had, who has excess capacity, has artists, but you have to have excess capacity. If you're just a hunter-gatherer, it's very difficult because it's not enough. You have to feed the group. So here we are at a point, because I've done some reading on this, Greg, about Spotify and about Tidal and about Weezer and the bull amount that they pay their artists, and that there are only like 2% of artists that make any real money off of Spotify. You know, you've got to be in the hundreds of millions of downloads. You've got to be, you know, a Gingham Dance or whatever that thing was, or you have to be a Beyonce or one of Adele or whatever. So, but going back to what is AI going to do with that, the difficulty with AI is that the door is already open, and there are always going to be bad players when it comes to money. There's always going to be bad players, and there will always be individuals. And then it is up to society to put some restraints or constraints on what those bad players can or cannot do. And we'll see the same thing. We ran through that, or we've dealt with that. Again, remember what was the thing that we used to do? We used to download the music for free?
Napster.
Yeah, Napster. You know, and they had to go after Napster because it was stealing money. Because as anybody knows in the music business, there's no money in physical record sales or physical CD sale. There's no money in that. It's all live performances and or if you can get streaming dollars. That's it. I know that economy. So I agree with you, Greg. The difficulty is in the beginning of any nascent technology. It's a free world, and there's going to be bad players and good players, and then those constraints have to come in at some point. But my fear is this: the big money is not going to allow you to take away their right to use AI, because it saves them A&R, it saves them a lot of money, it saves them, you know, $200 an hour at the studio or $2,000 an hour, you know, at the studio, at the hit factory, wherever it is. So they're maybe loving it, you know, as a model, and then there's just going to be individual bad players that are going to use AI to steal, and that's the word. I'm not mad at you or any way, shape, or they're going to steal from those people who have put in all that effort and have the skill set to be able to produce music that resonates with communities. The last thing I wanted to say is one other aspect of music that AI I don't think can do is it cannot create community. If anybody knows the community of deadheads, somebody raise a hand who knows what a deadhead is. That's a community. And I've known deadheads. And I'm like, I look at them a little scam. But we have communities of other groups. There's Tool. I'm a Toolie all day long. I love Tool. Anything that Tool does, I will listen to, or if I can go to a concert, I will go to. But that's a community, and AI cannot. So there's so many pluses that are non-AI, but again, we've talked about that a little bit. I think AI has some beautiful things that it can do for those who choose to love it. But we're still in the wild, wild west right now. And I just hope there will be some constraints to protect that intellectual property of those artists. And you guys are artists. I don't play the instrument. You guys are artists. Thank you.
So you put us, for the last question, you put us in a perfect thing. First, we're going to be, but before I ask that question, Deanna and then Elee, your thoughts.
I have to respectfully disagree with Ken that AI will not build communities, because that relies entirely on someone's perspectives and their ability to tell the difference between AI and a real person.
Oh my God.
And the reason that I say that is I scroll through Facebook, and on a daily basis now, I get advertisements for AI generative programs that they will create a completely fictitious person who doesn't exist, generate videos using that person's face, and build your community for you.
Ain't that scary as hell? All right.
Yep.
Then Deanna put that in there. Elee, you got comments on this? Go for it.
I do. Well, firstly is I want to say thank you, and I do have much respect for the artists, especially in the creative field. I know how difficult it is, or I understand how difficult it is. First of all, it's your passion. So you put a lot of your life into something, and it just means a lot. It's what keeps us going. I am on an opposite side of creativity because I speak more on a subject, but I understand that completely. And when I was younger, third grade, I was learning how to play the piano, and I stopped because I moved away from that area and I never went back. It's probably one of very few things that I wish I had continued to pursue, some type of instrument. And you guys brought up something earlier, like that biological connection or something. There's just something about learning how to do something physically with our hands and not just our mind, but together. It's a powerful thing. And so keep going. And I do think that the community part and the connectedness, human connectedness, is going to be what's going to be wanted and needed in the future. So those in-person concerts, or whether it's a speaking event in my case, I think if anything, it's going to create that more of a drive and a need and a want for selective people.
All right. Yeah. I like that. So what I'm going to say is, my challenge, before I ask this last question, my challenge to all our musicians and musical folks here is, we're going to have an episode of PHred Prime Live, but it's going to be a musical episode, and I want you all to play together, play instruments together. And Barbara can sing, and won't that rock the house? So
I got cowbell.
That's fine.
Or cowbell.
I'm fine with that. I will not sing, nor will I play, because my daughter, I'm still under this almost 40-year-old, man, she's going to hit me if I say that, 35-year-old constraint. So my last question here is that we've talked a lot about encroachment and bad stuff. My theory is that the only hope we have of escaping AI dominance in everything is one group of people. Lawyers.
Oh gosh.
Because you throw enough lawyers at something and everyone backs the hell down. Thoughts? Anyone want to respond to that?
Working for a law firm, sorry, but I disagree with that statement.
Okay.
Lawyers are not going to save this issue, especially if for no other reason than because while, yes, there are communities of music fans, there are not moneyed communities of music fans. And at the end of the day, a lawyer does what a lawyer does for money. Yep. So anything the lawyers could, I'm not saying that they will, but they could help to bring about the demise. I mean, okay, wait a minute.
Okay, you're right there.
Just as a perfect example. Granted, the lawsuit turned out the way we'd hoped it would, but the fact that the members of Creedence Clearwater Revival could take John Fogerty to court for sounding too much like John Fogerty. The fact that that even made it into a courtroom put the issue in play. Like, who's to say that John Fogerty's attorney might not been on top of his game that day, and they could have successfully sued him and got him to stop making music.
I don't disagree with you that,
I'm just saying to rely on that particular community might not be our best move.
I'm not saying that it's a good move. I'm just saying my theory is that's going to be the last move we got. Who wants to?
Okay.
It's going to be AI lawyers.
AI lawyers.
AI lawyer against human lawyer. Sorry.
Our corporate counsel recommends we do not try to copyright anything remotely related to AI generation, and our business uses AI generated text, AI generated imagery, AI generated video, AI generated music, and the safe way, I mean, our counsel is advising us don't get in a lawsuit, right? So we're just like, put it out there without caring, but notice we're not putting our original human stuff out there unprotected, right? But the AI stuff, have at it, remix it. Unfortunately, we are where we are, and we have to navigate safely for our businesses.
Amen to that. Mick, you got a comment on AI and lawyers and things like that?
What do you say when 500 lawyers drown?
It's a good thing, according to Shakespeare.
A good start. Yeah, so that's close enough. So, yeah, I think community is the key here, and the human ideas are always going to be preeminent. So if you way back when, classical music, where did it come from? It came out of the church, came out of the community. Where did Motown come from? It was a factory. It was a community of people. I think AI is now our post-industrial, post-manufacturing version of a factory. So it's got to be guided. It's got to be channeled in some way. And there are original artists, and the community has to be really key. If we ever get to the point where people cannot distinguish between artificial created music and human created music, I don't think that's a good thing. I use AI, it's coming, still using it, watching it all the time. But if we have a group of people who can't tell the difference because they are post-digital and never know anything else, I don't think that's a good thing, because we still have to have respect for the human creation and whatever community or group of people who initially started the creativity and creative process of music.
Perfect. So I tend to work on the Zevon theory. Warren Zevon. Lawyers, guns, and money. Ken, last thoughts on this topic.
Yeah, the last thoughts, and I think I'm going to be right about this one. We're just in the beginning, folks. If we came back to this conversation 20 years from now, there are things that will happen in AI that we can't even ask the questions for today. Literally.
Yeah.
I'm in this industry. I keep up on a lot of stuff that's happening for the future, but we're in where we're in today. And I hate auto-tune. I hate auto-tune. I like organic. That's me. But again, we're coming in, and I talk about post-industrial, whatever you want to call it. Individuals who are exposed at an early age to a specific type of music will become very comfortable with that music. And that will become the norm for them. So all I'm saying to everyone on this call is enjoy that you grew up in an era that you saw live bands and you saw people make mistakes on stage or even on the albums. I can tell you albums that have mistakes, okay? But you grew up in that, and they grooved, and they were funky. You can't teach AI to be funky. This is my opinion. You can't tell it to groove, okay? So anyway, I just think this has been an incredible experience. Thank you for inviting me, the non-musician who can't sing a lick. But I have some experience, obviously, in some music and in AI. And I just want to thank everyone that's been on this call. And thank you for inviting me.
It's been wonderful to have you here, Ken. And I haven't ever met Ken or Mick before. So this has been really wonderful. And Elee as well. It's been nice to meet you. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been really good. I know, Fred, go. You got something
Greg,
else?
we need to get Greg because we didn't get his last thoughts. And I don't know if we got Deanna's last thoughts. Greg, last thoughts.
Oh, I just reiterate what many have said, that this was a great conversation, and it was a nice mix of people from different angles, which was really nice.
Yeah.
So thanks for this. Thanks for having me, Fred. And Barbara.
Yep.
So I will say before, I'm going to call Deanna, but I'm going to say to what Ken said. If we're doing that, I'm okay scheduling 20 years out to revisit this. However, I'm expecting that instead of being in an office building in Grover Beach, I'm going to be in some fortified underground bunker. Deep away from either Skynet or the Matrix. Deanna, last thoughts.
Music is generational and evolutionary, and it's changing every 20 to 30 years consistently for all of human history. I can't wait to see where it's going. I don't have to like it, but I can't wait to see where it's going.
Yeah. I remember quite a few things in my life that they said that about, and it all sucked. Okay, folks, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode of PHred Prime Live. Have a great week, and we'll be back again. Take us out, music.